Hello, everybody. It's Thursday. I'm just checking over to make sure that the feed is working, and it looks like we are live. And welcome to another session of Parenting Together. And today we are going to discuss a little bit about what happens when uh, we are out of our green zone. Last week we talked, or last session on Tuesday, we talked about what it felt like and what it meant to be in our ventral vagal state or our green state or our owl brain. And hopefully you were able to recognize over the last couple of days some times when you were in that state and just be able to appreciate it and savor those moments. And yeah, I can share yesterday, if I'm thinking about what was a time when I really felt connected and safe and present, was fortunately, and this doesn't happen all the time, but a lot of the therapists in our office all had the same time for lunch scheduled, and so we were able to just sit together, eat, have a good conversation, and just I remember noticing and feeling this is really nice. I feel connected to these other individuals, and so yeah, it's wonderful to have great colleagues to work with. And so if you have moments of times when you felt connected and you want to share them in the comment section of this video, that would be awesome, and just help all of us be able to look for more opportunities and be aware of when we're in that green zone. I'll admit this morning I've been in and out of the green and the red zone. If you were going to track my emotions throughout the day and then look at it over a week, you would probably say, Matt, morning times are your are your most challenging, where you feel more frustrated or more tense, or and I think that's just a function of many people trying to get ready for the day and get to where they need to be. So yeah, I've been in and out of the red and green zone all morning this morning. But we are going to start with going back to our 4-8 breathing pattern. And remember, part of the reason why this is such an effective breathing pattern for re-regulating your nervous system is that long exhale is a message from your body to your brain that things are okay. Like, we actually are safe, even though sometimes our nervous system, which is always looking for threat and always looking for danger, might be telling us that we're not safe, and that generates those feelings of anxiety and worry and unease that we all experience from time to time. And since that's what we're talking about today, we'll practice the 4-8 breathing pattern, and we're going to go for 6 minutes. That feels really good. Thank you for doing that with me. It is really helpful for me, and I hope it's helpful for you. And that's the purpose of doing the live streams, is being able to do it together and knowing that there are others who at the same time are part of this practice together and part of this learning together. Okay, seeing red. Noticing when we end up in the our sympathetic nervous system. Some people will call this being triggered and getting noticing that they're getting emotional. Some things that you'll notice in your body, and is that you really got to be paying attention. And so often when we get into this state, um, we are, like I said a few sessions ago, like the chimp knocks out our human thinking brain and just takes over, or our owl brain has flown away, and now we're in the watchdog brain, and we've stopped thinking uh, rationally, and we're just reacting. Um, this is often called the fight or flight response, and our body is getting ready for or is acting on that impulse that we need to either get away or we need to engage and fight and protect ourselves. And so one way it's been described is going from connection, from a state of connection to a state of protection where I'm feeling threatened. And so your heart rate will increase, your breathing will get shallow, and that's why having a practice of breathing patterns can be helpful, because um, I'll notice when I'm talking to someone or I'm entering a situation and I am feeling anxious or I'm feeling nervous, and I notice, okay, am I breathing? Not really. And so just focusing on for a while can help me re-engage into the present moment and re-engage my ability to think better. And it doesn't work for me all the time. I still do act out and say things that I regret, or withdraw when I maybe should engage more. Um, but recognizing that you're in this state, and one thing to recognize about yourself and about your kids when they get into this fight or flight response is that talking and reasoning is not really going to be very helpful. And so once the owl brain has flown away, or once the brain has flipped, often, and you can think about this for yourself, when you're in that state and someone wants to reason with you or tells you to calm down, or suggests some kind of grounding technique, and you're really in the heat of being in your fight or flight response, that usually doesn't go very well. In fact, Colette has talked about, and I love this quote, and I think she got it from Deb Dana, is that if you're going to engage with someone, or if you're going to try to correct behavior, or and you're in that fight or flight mode, like you're really picking a fight, because and this is something that we'll talk a lot more about later, but people respond to your way of being towards them. And I don't mean to change the subject there, but that's going to be a topic that we get to, is managing our way of being and recognizing what state our nervous system in is a big part of recognizing, like, am I in the best place right now to engage with this person? And often when our thinking brain isn't online and we're in our emotional brain, and we're acting on that emotion, it feels like, yep, this is the right time to do this, and I need to do this now. But often, if we're wanting to negotiate and we're wanting to find a solution to a challenge, it may be better to notice, I'm not in a great place. I'm in my fight or flight response. I'm in my sympathetic nervous system, and I need to get to, back to where I'm ventral vagal. and be able to be back in my thinking brain. And so I think sometimes when we're talking about parenting, um, we might want like or feel like we need to handle this situation right now. Like we need to like we just need this to be resolved right now, or we need our child to say the right thing right now to help us feel better, or we need the behavior to change right now before so that we can feel better. And then we go into that conversation and not in the greatest place. We're in our fight or flight response, and then we have a fight, and the relationship has a rupture, and then we end up working towards repair later. Sometimes if we can, and often I would say, if we can recognize that, okay, I'm not in the best place to engage this conversation. I'm going to go take care of my nervous system. I'm going to get back into a green place to where my thinking brain is on, and then I'm going to go and have this conversation when I'm in a better place. And sometimes, like, we're back and forth, and I've talked to parents about sometimes it takes a few times of, okay, I'm in a good place. Now I'm going to engage in the conversation. Oh, and now, like, we're both getting upset again. We're both in our sympathetic state. And so we go back and get back into a better place, and then come back and re-engage again. And sometimes it takes multiple times to be able to do that, to reach a resolution. I did want to add one thing, since we're about out of time, that has been helpful in addressing the emotion that comes. Like if I'm feeling angry about something, I feel like I've been wronged, or a boundary was crossed, or I'm feeling frustrated, and I get into my sympathetic state, and I just have that feeling of anger. Learning to separate the feeling of anger from the narrative that I'm telling telling myself in my head, has helped to allow that emotion of anger to kind of move through me and get processed, and then be able to get back into that ventral state a little bit easier. Because often, like, the physiological response of our emotions gets processed by our body pretty quickly, but often the narrative that we're telling ourselves, that we're justified in our anger, and we're justified in feeling the way that we feel, keeps that feeling going. And so sometimes if I can just feel the anger and not let myself tell the story that I'm telling myself that is perpetuating the anger, that's helped me to move from a sympathetic nervous system, a watchdog state, to a back into a ventral state. Okay, we are out of time for today. So on Tuesday next week, we will get into what happens when we go dorsal, or into our blue zone, or characterized by a sloth is the way I often talk about it. And so thank you for being here. If you're watching later, thank you for watching. And we will talk to you again on Tuesday.